Gimel, starting. Oh, so we're starting Gimel. We're starting in Bet.
Bet Hey.
Okay. Um, they are not liable to. They're not liable to a sacrifice for the sin of hearing the voice of adoration, nor for uttering an oath of lips, nor for the tumor contamination of the temple or its consecrated articles. The king is like them. They are words of Rebbe Yossi Agili. Rebbe Kiva says the king is liable for all of them except for hearing the voice of adoration, that the king may not judge nor be judged, nor may be testified nor be testified against. For all the commandments of the Torah for which one is liable for willful transgression to karis, and for inadvertent transgression to a sin offering, and the individual offers a she lamb or a she goat. The king offers a he goat, and the anointed Kohen and the court offer a bull. For idolatry, the individual, the king, and the anointed Kohen offer a she goat, and the court offers a bull and a goat, a bull as a burnt offering, and a goat as a sin offering. With regard to an Asham Toli, the individual and the king are liable, but the anointed Kohen and the court are exempt. With regard to the definite guilt offering, the individual, the king, the anointed Kohen, and they are liable, but the court is exempt. For the sin of hearing the voice of adoration, or the utterance of an oath of the lips, or the tumor contamination of the temple, or its consecrated articles, the court is exempt, but the individual, the king, and the anointed Kohen are liable. For the Kohen Gadol is not liable for the tumor contamination of the temple or the consecrated articles. These are the words of Reb Shimon. What do they offer? The variable sin offering. And Reb Elliot says the king offers a he goat. Okay.
Okay, Perek Gimel. Kohen Mashiach. Okay, so again, it's the anointed Kohen, not just a Meruba Begadim.
All right.
If he does a chet, and then afterwards he was removed from his kahuna. I don't know, he resigned, or why would he have he just he hasn't had the opportunity to bring his personal chatas before he has been removed from the priesthood. Okay, v'chein nasi, and then the other case is we will call him a nasi for now, because the Mishnah is only going to explain later that this is a king, but you and I both know that this is talking about a king. Okay, so the nasi who does a chait, and afterwards Avami Gedulaso, and he is deposed, he resigns, or whatever happens, he's no longer king. Kohen Mashiach may be par, Navi may be seir. In other words, because the chait and the knowledge of and the chiyuv to bring this different korban, which is different from what an individual would bring, the Kohen Mashiach still brings his par, the Nasi still brings his goat. Okay, so there's no difference in the fact now that they have been removed from their position, they still have to bring the same korban. Slightly different case in Mishnah base. Kohen Mashiach she'avar mimshichuso ve'achar kach chata. So let's say he was the Kohen Gadol, and now the ex Kohen Gadol does one of these chataim for that would make him liable to the special chata sacrifice. Okay, and then the other case is of a nasi, who also he's been deposed. He's the ex king, and he does a chait. So what's the halacha for these two cases? Kohen Mashiach may be par. He maintains his kedusha for life. Once he's become the Kohen Mashiach, he never loses it, and therefore he would always have to bring that special korban, even if he does the chait after he's removed from office. But nasi kehediot, but a king, once he is no longer king, he becomes a regular Joe. And he brings a korban chatas just like anyone else. What's the lamdus of this is that even though the Kohen Gadol remains in his kedusha, as we'll learn later in Mishnah Daled, which is going to be tomorrow. So hold that question for tomorrow. Why he keeps his kedusha, but the nasi, the king, only brings the special korban. Why? Because Asher Nasi Yechta, that's what the pasuk says, is when a leader sins, Keshehu Nasi, only when he sins when he's a Nasi, but not when he sins as an ex Nasi. So it's not about his kedusha. It's about his role that he's fulfilling, and he only brings a special chatas if he is actually a nasi at the time of the sin. Okay. Now we have Mishnah Gimel explores the situation. What if the sin and the knowledge are separated, or at least the sin comes before his position. So both the king and the Kohen Gadol, in either case they did the sin and then later they were appointed to the high position. So these are regular Joes, because the chait happened before they were appointed into the position, and just because they've now come to the position, then they haven't had the opportunity to bring the korban that they were liable for before, doesn't change the chiyuv. They still have the same chiyuv to bring whatever they had to bring before. Rabbi Shimon Omer, he says, now there's a little subtlety, says Rabbi Shimon. Im nod alahem ad shelo nismanu chayavin. Okay, if they knew about this korban before they were appointed to their position, then yeah, I agree with you. But Rabbi Shimon says the knowledge of the chait is what's going to play a big part in this, because Misha Nitzmanu, after they've been appointed, he did the chait, then he got appointed Kohen Gadol, and then he looked back and somebody comes up and that yesterday you did such and such a thing, which makes you chayav chatas. So Rabbi Shimon now says he's not just got to bring a different korban. He's completely parted from any korban, because he's no longer a kohen hediot who has to bring a regular Joe's chatas, because the chiyuv can only come when he's aware of it. And he also doesn't bring the chatas of the Kohen Gadol, because the chait wasn't committed when he's a Kohen Gadol. Therefore, there's no korban he can bring. And the same goes for a king. Right? If there's a chiluk between the time of the knowledge, the chait and the time of the knowledge, and he's now changed position, he says at this point he can't bring any korban at all. Incidentally, this means that Rabbi Shimon is also arguing about Mishnah Aleph, right? Because he is saying that he would argue with the idea that if he sins as Kohen Gadol and then or Nasi, probably more than Nasi, I think. Nasi Shechata, yes, Dafka the king. So only if the king sins and then passes on from his role, if he only discovered his chait after he has become a regular hediot again, then Rabbi Shimon would argue on that point and say no, he doesn't bring any korban at all, because the chait and the change of position were separated. The chait and the knowledge of the chait were separated, and he's changed his position. So we're not sure what korban to give him, and therefore he brings nothing. Ezehu Nasi. Now the Mishnah comes and finally tells us who is the Nasi. Zeh HaMelech. Shneimar v'asa achas mikol mitzvos Hashem Elokav. And he did one of the mitzvahs that Hashem told it. Well, and he violated one of the mitzvahs that Hashem told him. It's a Nasi she'ein al gabav ela Hashem Elokav. So the diuk over there is that when it's talking about the Nasi, it's talking about the mitzvahs of Hashem, his God. Means he has no, the inference there is that there's nobody else above him other than Hashem, so he must be the king. Okay.
When he goes, the Gadol becomes a commoner again. It's a regular Joe, as you say.
Right? Yeah. So the king becomes a commoner again. Yeah.
Is he is there any special thing that's given, any special?
Well, one of the things that we did learn about in Yevamos is that the king's if the king died, his widow cannot remarry. Nobody's allowed to marry and there was one Tana who held that the next king is allowed to marry his widow, but nobody else. Once a woman's been married to a king, she can't be married to a commoner again. So I guess the same is going to apply here, is that he's still, the woman who he was married to is, she's still married to him, but lichora, I don't see how it would be any better that he's now been demoted. Now, if she wants to, if he then dies or divorces her, can she remarry? I would say no.
And
So
the Nasi, he's not afforded any more um, covet or anything like that because he was one time, you know. Uh,
I would imagine that he should be, but I don't know. I mean, the way it maybe you probably do have to have some sort of cover for him. And this is just talking about a technicality. The reason why he brings a commoner's sacrifice is just because of the deal that it's only when the Nasi sins that you bring this. And he's not the Nasi anymore. So, but for all other intents and purposes, he's still the ex-king and therefore would have to have some sort of kavod. But I don't have specifics on that. Yeah. Um, just by the way, we have a siyum in on Tuesday. We're finishing the Zikin on Tuesday. So I'm not sure if we want to do something in shul or whatever, just make a little siyum in the morning.
usually, see him in the morning. I have on Tuesday. Oh, I have something Tuesday at 9:30, but that's have to leave around 9:10. So it would just do
That's
something
fine.
like we always do. We'll all have our little
Yeah.
glass of wine and all that. That's okay with you.
Okay. So we'll do a plan like that.
I have to
Okay.
get some.
I'll just bring my laptop to shul then.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No worries. Okay.
All right, we have base hay. They are not liable to
Hold
assess.
on, hold on. Let's whatever. I suppose it doesn't matter. We can do base hay first and then do the later one later. And wait, what base hay? No, not base hay.
My tissue, but right before when I started.
Okay, so um no, no, we're nowhere near either of them. Okay, in Avos we're in Hey Chaf Gimel.
Sorry, I've got the stuff mixed up here. Okay, hey, comfortable. Ben Hey says the word reward is commensurate with the um, exertion. The sages taught the following chapter in the language of the Mishnah: "Blessed is he who chooses them and their teachings." Rameya says, "Whoever engages in the study of Torah for its own sake, friend, he loves the omnipresent, he loves his creatures, he is gladness the omnipresent, gladness that omnipresent, he gladdens his creatures, the Torah clothes him in humility and fear of God, and it makes him fit to be a righteous, devout, fair, and trustworthy person. Distances from sin and distances him from near to merit. And they enjoy from him counsel and wisdom, understanding and strength. As it is said, with me there is counsel and wisdom. I have understanding, with me is strength. It gives him kingship and dominion and analytical judgment. They reveal to him secrets of the Torah, and he becomes like a steady, strengthening wellspring and like a river that does not come, that does not cease. He will be discreet, patient, and forgiving of insult to himself, and it makes him great and exalts him above all things. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, on each and every day, a bas call emanates from Mount Horayos, and it proclaims and says, "Woe to them, to people, because of the disgrace of the Torah." For anyone who does not engage in Torah study is called banned, as it is stated, like a golden ring in the snout of a pig, so is a beautiful woman whose good sense has departed. And it says, the tablets of God's handiwork and the script was the script of God engraved upon the tablets. Do not read the word as karas, engraved, but as kiris, freedom. This teaches that there is no free person except for one who engages in Torah study, and anyone who engages in Torah study is elevated, as it is stated, from Matana to Naklil, and from Naklil to Bava.
Okay. And Aleph Zion.
Mittel of Arbel says, distance yourself from a bad neighbor and do not associate with a wicked person, or do not disregard the possibility of retribution. Yehuda ben Tabe and Shimon ben Shatak received the Masorah from them. Yehuda ben Tabe says, do not make yourself like the legal counselors, and when litigants stand before you or for judgment, they should not they should both be as guilty as in your eyes. But when they depart from before you after judgment, they should both be as virtuous in your eyes once they have accepted the verdict on themselves. Shimon ben Tzaddik says, interrogate witnesses extensively, but be cautious with the words, lest they learn from them to lie. Shmaya and
No, that's it. We've done 3. Okay. Sanhedrin.
Hey, darling. After this, they admit the second witness and examine him. If their words concur, they open with the consideration of acquittal. If one of the witnesses says, I can present grounds for his acquittal, or one of the disciples say, I can present grounds for his conviction, they silence him. If one of the disciples says, I can present grounds for his acquittal, they elevate and seat him among them. And if he does not descend from there the entire day, if there is a substance to his words, they listen to him. Even if he says, I can present grounds for my own acquittal, they listen to him as long as there are substance in his words. If they find a reason to acquit him, they acquit him. If not, they postpone his verdict until the next day. Then they pair off, limiting their consumption of food and abstaining from wine the entire day, and analyze the matter through the night. On the following morning, they rise early and come to court. The one who argued for acquittal declares, I argue for acquittal, and I maintain my position in favor of acquittal. The one who argues for conviction says, I argue for conviction, and I maintain my position in favor of conviction. One who argues for conviction may argue for acquittal, but one who argues for acquittal may not reverse himself and argue for conviction. If they err, the 2 judicial tribes remind them. If they find an argument to acquit him, they acquit him. If not, they take a vote. If 12 vote for acquittal and 11 for conviction, he is acquitted. If 12 vote for conviction and 11 for acquittal, or even 11 vote for acquittal and 11 for conviction, and one says, I do not know, or even 22 vote for acquittal and conviction, and one says, I do not know, they add judges. And up to how many do they add? 2 by 2 until they reach 71. If 36 votes for acquittal and 35 for conviction, he is acquitted. If 36 votes for conviction and 35 vote for acquittal, they debate each other until one of them voting for conviction agrees with the opinion of those voting for acquittal.
One more.
Once the case has been decided, they take him out to stone him. The stoning place was outside the court area. As it is stated, take out the blasphemer. One man stands at the courthouse door with flags in his hand.
That was yesterday's parasha, actually. Yeah.
One stands at the courthouse door with flags in his hand, and another man with astride a horse at a distance from him within his sight. If someone says, I have grounds for his acquittal, the one waves the flags and the horse runs and halts him. Even if he says, I have grounds for my own acquittal, they return him even 4 or 5 times as long as there is substance to his words. If they found an argument for his acquittal, they acquit him. If not, he goes out to be stoned. A proclamation goes out before him, so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, is going out to be stoned because he transgressed such and such a prohibition, and so-and-so and so-and-so are his witnesses. Whoever knows any grounds for his acquittal should come forward and present them.
Right, so that gives the opportunity to bring in Edei Hazama to make Edom Zomamim, because remember that when it comes to Edom Zomamim, it has to happen between the sentence and the execution.
They really do everything they can, try not to convict the person.
Exactly.
Go out of their George, let me just shut this. The father has the authority over the daughter regarding her heirship. Whether affected by money, the document, or violations, he has the right to her findings, her handiwork, and the absolution of her vows, and he receives her bill of divorce, but he does not enjoy the ukrik during her lifetime. If she married, the husband exceeds him in that he enjoys the ukrik during her lifetime. If he is liable for her support, her ransom, and her burial, the Yehuda says even the poorest in Israel may not hire fewer than 2 flutes and a laminating woman. She is still under the authority of a father until she enters the authority of a husband at marriage. If the father gave her over to the agents of the husband, she is in the authority of her husband, and if the father went along with the husband's agents, or if the father's agents went along with the husband's agents, she is still in the authority of her father. If the father's agents gave her over to the husband's agent, she is still in the authority of her husband. The father is not liable for his daughter's support. The exposition did Reb Eliezer ben Arazek expound before the sages in the academy in Yavne. The sons will inherit, and the daughters will be sustained, just as the sons inherit only the father's death. So are the daughters supported only after the father's death. If they did not write,
that's it. That's 3.
Okay, we are on to who else? Lion dollar. This is a general principle. Whatever the value plus a fifth is repaid, the payment is truma. If if the priest wishes to forego, he may not do so. And whenever the vow is paid but not the fifth, the payment is chulin. If the priest wishes to forego, he can forego. If there were two baskets, one of truma and the other of chulin, and a saw of truma fell into one of them, it is not known into which it fell. I presume that it fell into the one of truma. If it is not known which is of truma and which is of chulin, and he ate one of them, he is exempt, and the other he treats as truma and is liable to chulin kala. So Reb Meir, Reb Yossi exempts. If another person ate the other one, he is exempt. If one ate both, he repays the value of the smaller of the two. If one of them fell into chulin, it does not render it meduma, and the other one he treats as truma and it is liable to chala. So says Reb Meir. Reb Yossi exempts if the other fell into another place, it does not render it meduma, but that both fell into the same place, it renders meduma in proportion to the smaller of the two.
Okay. Horayos. Yeah. Right. So we're talking about this case of the kli, or yes kli, not kli, in the doorway of the house, and if the tumah is in it, what happens? And I like to think of this one as like a paint fill. Like where's the tumah? Where does it extend to? How, and where does it then? It's one of these interesting sort of fluid dynamics kind of cases of what happens to tumah in these circumstances. Okay.
What case does this apply? When the hive's mouth is outdoors. However, if the mouth is inside the house and an olive side piece, of course, is located outdoors, either below or below the hive, the utensil that is directly below or above the olive side piece or anything inside the hive becomes tummy. Anything that is directly below or above the olive side piece and whatever is inside either the hive or the house remains tahor. If the piece of corpse is located inside either the hive or in the house, everything becomes tummy. If the hive is located 1 handbreadth above the ground and there is tumah below the hive inside the house or inside or above the hive, everything becomes tummy. And in what case does this apply? When the hive is a utensil with windows. However, if it was broken and stuffed with straw, or if the windows were covered, what is considered covered? When there is no window the size of a handbreadth and an olive side piece of corpse is located underneath the hive. Underneath the hive. Utensils directly below the hive, as deep as one can go, becomes tummy. If the olive side piece is above the hive, utensils directly above the olive side piece goes to the sky, becomes tummy. If the olive side piece is inside the hive or the house, inside the hive and the house become tummy.
Right, because the ohel spreads the so if it's a kli, it doesn't become an ohel. So but if it's a kli, an earthenware kli, it has to jump. The earthenware kli is impervious to tumah from the outside. That's the whole chiddush of the earthenware kli. But so if you've got the kli over there and you've got a tumah underneath it, then the tumah can't get into the kli, but also the kli can't shield the tumah from anywhere else. So it goes there and it skips to the other side and goes up and down. That's the situation with the kli. That's why it'll say that the inside is tahor, but what's underneath it and what's on top of it goes up and down. So that's if the kli is if the kli becomes an ohel. In other words, it's broken. It's no longer functioning as a kli, but it's been stuffed with whatever to protect, so that the tumah can't get into it. So now this is no longer a kli; it's now acting as ohel. So then the tumah will stop when it tries to come through from either the top or the bottom, and it'll also spread if the kli is sitting halfway inside the house. So then it'll spread into the house and onwards. Okay, that is it for today. And I've got to run. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.